Thank you for joining us today for State of the Firearms Industry and Future of Military Tech. This just in, because I get a lot of alerts, a New York law imposing strict limits on carrying guns in public seemed unlikely to survive after skeptical questioning from the Supreme Court. So several members of the court seem to be searching for a way to rule narrowly in this case, which could involve deciding that local officials have too much power to deny licenses to people seeking to carry guns in public for self-defense while affirming the state's right to exclude guns from sensitive places. I'm here in New York City, and so I've long awaited such a ruling and eagerly anticipate the outcomes here. I am joined and really excited and pleased to introduce to you Bobby Cox, who's the Vice President of Government Affairs for the firearms company SIG SAUER, where he directs strategic advocacy issues for SIG SAUER and the firearms industry at the federal and state levels. Bobby is the face of SIG SAUER in Washington, D.C., and coordinates relationships with the U.S. Congress, the Pentagon, and the executive branch on behalf of SIG SAUER. Bobby considers it an honor to work for a company that supports the mission of the nation's warfighter and law enforcement agencies. Bobby is a South Carolina native and a distinguished military graduate of the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. After the 9/11 terrorist attacks, Bobby joined the U.S. military as an Army Ranger with combat tours in the Middle East. While deployed, Bobby conducted special operations raids as well as nation stability missions, serving in such units as the 75th Ranger Regiment and the 82nd Airborne Division. Bobby's last assignment on active duty was as an Army Congressional Fellow in the U.S. Senate and as an Army Legislative Liaison. Bobby continues to serve in the U.S. Army Reserve as a lieutenant colonel. He is also a state legislator in the South Carolina House of Representatives, where he has become a leader for veterans and Second Amendment efforts. I am so pleased you could join us and exciting you are joining us next week, I think, for Veterans Day.
That's right. That's the plan. We'll see. Yeah, definitely looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And anybody who missed it earlier, we're going to have like a big marksmanship competition next week. We've got a few dozen special operations guys and transitioning veterans, so you're going to get along just swimmingly with everyone. We are going to start with the basics and do rapid fire questions. So first off, what's your favorite carry and why?
Well, I was going to kid whatever James Reese is carrying in his novels. That's what I'll carry. But no, for seriously, a P365 hands down is my favorite. My wife carries it. It's very versatile. You can put an optic on it. So 365 all day, every day.
All right. Favorite holster for everyday carry?
I've been gravitating towards the black point holsters a lot. And I'm, this is my new uniform suit, so I'm always, out of the waistband. So black point holsters are awesome. They're the way to go.
Great. Preferred rifle?
Shocker, it's a 6 SAUER 300 blackout Rattler suppressed. I mean, you shoot that subsonic, and it's just a joy to shoot every day. You can store it in your truck or at home for home defense. It's a great gun.
Excellent. Okay. Your favorite style reticle?
On pistols, yet again, it'd be the Romeo 1 Pro that we have on our pistols. It's a great red dot that I've been using. And I've been shooting a lot of Tango 6 on my rifles. That's the one that the Army's been using. So I wanted to see how that's shooting. It's a great optic as well.
Excellent. Now, given your very busy schedule, I was curious how often you hit up the range.
Well, it's integrated kind of in what I do a lot. So I usually hit the range about a couple times a month, but usually it's around a kind of a distinguished visitor visit, whether military or congressional. And so I'd say about twice a month. And the good part is, if there's ammo left over, sometimes I get to take it home. So I really encourage setting up those ranges, especially nowadays with the ammo shortage. So yeah, twice a month.
Absolutely. Yeah. I did have a quick question though for you. Was that SIG SAUER, I believe, recently broke ground on like a $13+ million experience center in Epping, New Hampshire. Are they going to have? What's the setup going to be like there?
So it'll be a destination spot, and we're looking to open it up in July of 2022. Around July 4th weekend. And so there'll be a museum there. It'll be a public range. It'll be a destination spot for like visitors can come in there. We'll have a Black Rifle coffee company branch there as well. And so, if anyone's ever been to the academy there, it's a great spot, but there's really not a big pro shop there. So we're just overwhelmed with demand. And so it's going to be something where if you can't get to the plant and do a tour, you can get out to the academy and shoot and experience the history of SIG at the museum, buy guns and equipment and shoot there and get some coffee as well. So we're very excited about it. It's going to open up in 2022. Everyone's invited to show up.
Oh, excellent. I'll be there. Okay. So we have some folks in the audience, of course, who are transitioning, pivoting their careers and so forth. So our first question here is, how did you go from being an Army Ranger to the VP of Government Affairs for the legendary SIG Sauer? Everyone has to know.
Yeah, that's a question I get often when I meet people. So as you heard from my bio, I joined the Army right after 9/11. I was a senior at the Citadel when it occurred, so I felt like I needed to go in and serve. I knew good men and women are going into harm's way, and so had the fortunate opportunity to go in as an infantry officer, to deploy with some great units. And then after about 4 deployments, I came back and said, let me try something different. So I applied for a Army Congressional Fellowship on the Hill, and served on the U.S. Senate for a year, and then actually worked at the Pentagon, like you said, Catherine, for 2 years doing Legislative Liaison. And they give you kind of a portfolio that you're supposed to be kind of talking to Congress about. And I was fortunate enough to get the Small Arms Army program for that Legislative Liaison. So I got to visit all the small arms manufacturers in the country. I got to take senators and congressmen there, and really started to develop a good relationship with the industry, which culminated in really get to know SIG Sauer, the culture, the work ethic. Like was discussed before with Nate. We have 2,800 employees, and about 30% of them are prior service or law enforcement. So it was almost like still staying in the military and doing that mission. And SIG really wanted to start raising its brand awareness in more strategic levels. We kind of started to grow more, and we were missing out on really opportunities in DC, Pentagon, and not opportunities. So, the timing was right. I had the experience, the connections. Not only was I a warfighter, but also I had the Capitol Hill and Pentagon experiences. And so my job is just to kind of raise that brand awareness and engage that with SIG on a strategic level to get the message out, not only for SIG, but also for the firearms industry. And so like you said before, I'm SIG guys in DC, and it's been an incredible opportunity. So that's how that all came about.
Excellent. Okay. And by the way, folks, I know that you love SIG Sauer, so please drop in the chat your favorite sidearm, and I'd love to be able to do a little poll on that later. Next question for Bobby is, the M17 and M18 are now the official sidearms of all branches of the U.S. military. Congrats. And the M18 is chosen as the official sidearm of the U.S. Marine Corps. So can you take us behind the scenes and detail that selection process, what it takes to win a contract of this nature? What does it mean to competitors who maybe formally held those contracts?
Yeah, it's absolutely. I came into SIG about 5 years ago, and so I came in right as we were getting this started. This program had been going on for a while, and finally they were able to pull the trigger, pun intended, in 2015 to start this contract. So it was a huge undertaking by the Army, and it was a great success. The Army had stumbled a lot with getting new small arms programs out to the force, and so this was a great success, not only for us, for SIG, of course, winning it, but for the Army to go through the competition and then produce and then deliver guns. And we're at about 300,000 guns there to the force right now. And as you said, there was 2 guns that were submitted within the modular handgun system, the M17, which is the full size, and then the M18, which is the compact. And it's based upon our 320 system, if you're familiar with that. And this actually replaced the M9 Beretta in the military, which started back in 1985. So these programs stay around a while. And this, to date, minus the Next Gen program that we'll talk about later, this was the most rigorous and highly competitive, small arms program that we had seen in the history of the military to date. And so the program was valued about $5 million for 10 years with follow-on contracts. The competition, like I said, kicked off in 2015. There was about a dozen competitors in the mix there, the bigger names and some smaller names as well competing for it. And the Army was really looking for something modular, as indicated in its name. They wanted 2 handguns. Like I said, they didn't tell us what caliber they wanted, so it was upon the competitor to actually submit what ammo they wanted, what caliber. But they wanted something that could fit all range of shooters, the small-handed all the way up to the bigger-handed shooters, male, female, short, big, whatever. And they needed adjustable grip modules, integrated rail systems for lights and lasers, striker fire, and the ability to mount a suppressor. And so the criteria was really focused on reliability, safety. Factors were really taken into account. Soldier feedback was big as well. But the bigger one was accuracy was key, because these guns were going to be more prolific within the force all the way down to squad and teams. And so we call this pistol really the sniper pistol because it had to consistently hit a 4-inch group at about 50 meters, 90% of the time that you shot it. And so it's very demanding. So from that criteria, the Army down selected to 2 companies, SIG Sauer and Glock, and we were declared the winner in January of 2017. We were all at SHOT Show. It was a great celebration. There's a team. It was a great night to be all together to hear the news. And so, it's big for us. I mean, we have really learned how to be a big manufacturer for the Army now. We're in all the services of the DoD, and we've really had to grow up a lot to produce all these guns. Like I said, we're at 300,000 guns, and we're doing well. And as it relates to our competitors, great companies competed for it, and we were selected to do it. And so that halo effect for us, as we've seen, is like we've won a lot of foreign military contracts that want to use the Army gun. We've seen law enforcement agencies go over to the Army gun because they want to be interoperability with what's going on with the military. And so we've seen a lot of opportunities of that halo effect that I've talked about from winning the contract. So we're taking opportunities that potentially competitors would have had if they had won the contract. But overall, it's a great system, and it's really developed a really good relationship with the Army. And we're honored to have the program. We really are.
Okay, excellent. I'm actually going to skip over one question and jump over to the second to the last question. Earlier this year, SIG Sauer announced the final delivery of the next generation squad weapon system to the U.S. Army. The program is a historic undertaking to develop weapons that will enhance squad level lethality and is inclusive of a lightweight belt-fed machine gun, a rifle, hybrid ammunition, suppressors. Can you please detail how this program or this system offers significant advancements in the battlefield weapons performance, what the design and engineering advancements were made, and maybe a little bit how this is going to impact our military?
Yeah, absolutely. This is another program that we're honored to be a part of. We're one of 2 companies that's in the fight for this. We'll find out about the end of the year who's awarded for this. And as I alluded to kind of a little bit earlier, the military, especially the Army, stays with its weapon systems for a long time. As we've seen with the M9, the M4, the 240, the M2, you name it, rifle and machine guns stay around forever. And so this is truly a historic and almost a once in a lifetime opportunity for those that currently work at SIG. And like I said, we're honored to be one of 2 companies that's kind of in the hunt for it. We did submit 2 platforms for the program as called for the requirements. They didn't really dictate that you had to submit a belt fed, but we did a rifle and a belt fed because based upon end user feedback, not only at SIG, but also on the ground level there with the troops, we didn't really want to take that belt fed capability away from the squads and the platoons out in the force. What's different about this system is they're both suppressed. So we've actually put our cans on there, our suppressors, which is kind of a newer technology that reduces the toxics and emissions and actually pushes them out instead of back into your face. If you guys have ever shot, we would shoot all the time. My face would just have soot all over it when we were shooting suppressed. So this alleviates that. A big focal point of kind of a leap ahead technology is really ammunition. So we're providing our own ammunition for this program. With the modular handgun system, we partnered with Winchester, but we're at the point now as a company where we're able to produce our own ammunition. So we did a hybrid technology within our round. It's a stainless steel bottom, the cartridge, and the rest of it's brass. And so it allows an increased pressure that you need in the system. So you can kind of control the pressure within that. The rifle itself is a gas piston. And so, it's about 8 to 9 pounds. So unlike the M4, which is like direct impingement, you can actually fold the stock. It's like an MCX chassis. And so you can fit that rifle easily into vehicles, helicopters, and you can still shoot it with the stock folded, which is great. Overall, the lethality, the 6.8 is more, you can reach out and touch more with penetrating power than the 5.56. It has the ability to kind of compete with our near peer threats out there. And that was really a driving force for the program itself when we started to see some of our kind of not so friendly nations that were looking to kind of infringe upon us. And so this reduces the weight of a 7.62 platform like a 240, but still gives you the similar lethality. And I'll say this: the biggest part of this program was soldier touch points were essential. They are weighted heavily on the program itself. We went to maybe half a dozen installations and had anyone from the newest private all the way up to special forces, rangers, senior NCOs get hands-on, shoot all the guns in the competition and give their feedback. And that's heavily weighted on the selection criteria. And then and I tell you, this is a game changer. We don't even know how this is going to change. In conversations with the Army, they're going to have to change doctrine, the way they fight, how the 6A is going to react, all this kind of thing. And so we have yet we're in uncharted territory with how lethal this will make our fighting forces, but I know it will be historic. Overall, I think the relationship with the Army and industry has really been the pro in all this. The conversations have been great. We always gave the Army a bad time. Previously with procurement, it took forever. But now the conversations have been great and the relationships. And whenever I do strategic meetings, I always praise the Army with this program because it has been different. There's just a different vibe, and it's like a team effort with industry, which you usually don't see that. So we're very excited about the program. I tell people if we win the next gen, anyone who's going into the military will be carrying a SIG, whether it be a pistol or a rifle or a machine gun. And so that really drives us to do our best every day. My son wants to go into the Army. Imagine that, shocker. But knowing that current and future generations are going to be carrying out there, like was said before, that's the reason we do what we do is support the warfighter. So we're very excited and honored about this program. So.
Outstanding. Okay. So we have a couple audience questions, but I do have one more for you, which is during the pandemic, what did SIG SAUER do to support the firearms industry and military specifically?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the companies had these issues. It was a great time of uncertainty. A lot of people think we're based in Germany, but we're U.S. based. We have our heritage overseas in Europe, but we're based in New Hampshire. Is where our headquarters is at, and that's where all of our manufacturing is. Our ammunition plants in Arkansas, and we actually have an optics division out in Oregon. So we are dealing with all of this uncertainty of are we going to get shut down? What's going to happen? That kind of thing. And so we really approached it with a two-step process: one of keeping our company and the industry open, and then two, so that we can deliver the firearms not only for commercial but military, and then two, protect our workforce. And so we couldn't do this alone. We combined our efforts with the industry partners, some that were here on the call, also trade associations. We partnered extensively with NSSF, NRA as well, to engage our elected officials in our respective states to ensure that firearms was a part of the essential service that was needed to stay open, especially for not only commercial but military. And we did that. So we were able to keep that open, which was great. And then we had to protect our workforce. If our workforce was sick, we wouldn't be able to meet our contract demands for military as well as commercial. And so our CEO, Ron Cohen, assembled a task force within SIG, and we really addressed this. We sent all of our workers that could work remote, like most companies did. We minimized the entry into the production line on the floor. We put plexiglass up between assemblers. We pushed out our cafeteria where they could eat outside, and our visitors' lobbies. Masks were worn all the time. Temperature gauges, when you come in and out, and testing for contact tracing. And I'm proud to say that we never shut down. We delivered on time all of our Army programs, which is something that was rare during that time. And so we were kind of a best practice within DoD, which we're very proud of. And then, like I said, we got tons of PPE to protect our workers, but then, and I'm sure other companies did this as well, but we pushed them out, all the extras that we had, to law enforcement and first responders. That we weren't using, to make sure that they had enough to do their mission as well. So that's kind of what we did to help the industry and the firearms industry. It was really a team effort all around, and it's good to see that we're getting back into a groove now.
Excellent. Okay, I'm showing a question on the screen from one of the audience members, Brad, and so he wants to know what's the situation with the concealed carry in South Carolina for residents and non-residents, and he understands that the law was recently changed. Would you have anything to share about that?
Yeah, Brad, great question. I know the bill sponsor for that bill, and his name's Bobby Cox. So I sponsored that bill down there here in South Carolina. And so previously, we were one of 5 states that didn't have any type of open carry. And when I moved back here after the Army, I was shocked because South Carolina is a very red state, very conservative, but they didn't really have a lot of know-how to get that done. So I was very proud to bring, my SIG SAUER experience, also military experience, to get that passed. So we have passed an open carry with a permit. So, the ultimate goal is constitutional carry, but we got to the point now we could pass open carry with a permit. So if you have a permit that's recognized throughout all the rest of the countries here in South Carolina, you can carry both concealed and openly in places that you're allowed to carry, which is great. And I've actually filed constitutional carry as well, and so hopefully it's passed the State House here, and hopefully it'll pass the State Senate next year during our 2-year session. So big victory for the Second Amendment down here when it was needed, and we'll keep pushing for that. And I'm very excited to lead the efforts on that.
Okay. This is more of a comment, but I'm going to pull a question from it. This gentleman is talking about, in the SIG Academy, it seems like it's very popular now. So the demand exceeds the availability of the classes. So maybe there's something you could add to the audience here about how they can get, access SIG Academy. Is there going to be an expansion there? Are there more classes available, alternatives, et cetera?
Yeah. No, thanks for the question, Bucky. Yeah, so we have a pretty big academy up in New Hampshire, and if anyone's been in New Hampshire, it gets pretty cold during that time in the wintertime. So I'm a southern guy, so it's hard to go up there at times. So, but we are booked solid like all year long, and we train anyone from the novice shooter all the way up to HRT, Dev Group, you name it. We're training everybody there. But we're, like you said, we're to capacity, and so we're kind of taking on the military approach where we're doing MTTs, where we go out and meet the shooters where they are throughout the country. We've explored maybe expanding to different footprints, in kind of a southern footprint with actually, kind of more of a warmer climate, Florida, Texas, Tennessee, something like that, where we could run it year round if we could, So we're trying to get to that point where we're doing that. So we're definitely exploring that. We've recognized that as a company that we need to do that because the need for training, as Mark mentioned, within SSF, there's so many new firearm owners, and they just need training, and we want to help that out. And we're firearms agnostic. Like if a LE unit comes through and they're carrying Glocks, we're training tactics and procedures. We're not training, you got to buy SIG. Like whatever they're carrying, we want to train. And so we'll go all over that. But no, we're definitely looking at that, Bucky, and we gotta meet the demand here soon. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, I think also because 2021 was like an unprecedented year for firearms purchases. You've got an increase in people who want training and so forth. So I think all around that, I just think everything is excellent here. And it points to more Americans defending and honoring their civil liberties and Second Amendment rights. So I appreciate your time here today, Bobby. If everyone can give him, please, a warm round of emoji applause.